Football in the Scottish Highlands has always had its own special character. The grounds aren't gigantic bowls like Hampden or Ibrox. Instead, they're tucked into fishing towns, coastal villages, and mountain backdrops. What makes them shine isn't size, but soul. Today, we're ranking the biggest Highland League football stadiums for the 2025-26 season, starting from the smallest and climbing up. Let's dive right in. 18. Spain Park. We begin in Aberdeen with Spain Park, the home of Banks OD. At just 876 seats, it's the smallest on our list, but don't let that fool you. Spain Park has a big presence in Scottish non-league football. The ground has been the club's base for decades. Banks OD themselves date back to 1902, and though Spain Park has gone through upgrades and tweaks, it remains a classic small Scottish ground. 17. Seafield Park. Next, we head into the Cairngorms, to Grantown-on-Spey, where Strathspey Thistle play at Seafield Park. Capacity here is around 1,600. Grantown-on-Spey is a small town in the heart of the Highlands, known more for its whiskey and stunning scenery than football. But Seafield Park is proof that the game reaches every corner of Scotland. The ground was first developed in the 1950s. 16. Macassack Park. From Whiskey Country's gateway to the heart of it, Rothes, a Moray town famous for its distilleries. Macassack Park, home of Rothes FC, holds about 1,731. The ground is named after the Macassack family, local landowners who donated the site back in 1924. That means Macassack Park is now over a century old, a proper old-school Scottish football ground. 15. North Lodge Park. Formartine United are based in Pitmedden, Aberdeenshire, and their home ground is North Lodge Park. Capacity is around 1,800. North Lodge Park has been the base for Formartine since the club joined the Highland League in 2009. Compared to some of the century-old grounds in this league, it's relatively modern, though the site itself has roots going back further. 14. Belslea Park. Fraserburgh, a fishing town on Scotland's northeast coast, is home to Belslea Park. The ground holds about 1,865 and has been the base for Fraserburgh FC, known as the Brock, since 1910. Belslea Park is one of the best-known Highland League grounds. The Brock are a successful club, and the ground has hosted some famous moments, including cup shocks where they've beaten much bigger sides. 13. Dudgeon Park. Up in Sutherland, you'll find Brora Rangers' home, Dudgeon Park. It holds around 2,000 and is one of the most talked-about grounds in the Highland League. Brora Rangers, known as the Caddocks, have been one of the league's dominant clubs in the last decade. Their rise has brought Dudgeon Park plenty of attention. Over time, the ground has undergone development. 12. Grant Park. Lossiemouth is another Moray fishing town, and its club, Lossiemouth FC, plays at Grant Park. Capacity is about 2,050. Grant Park is a multi-use ground, with football the main focus, but also strong ties to community events. The ground itself has been home to the club since the early 20th century. It sits close to the sea, so like Fraserburgh's Belslea Park, it's exposed to the elements. 11. Grant Street Park. In Inverness, Clacknacuddon plays at Grant Street Park. The ground holds about 2,074, making it one of the biggest in the Highland League. Grant Street Park has been home to Clach since 1886, which makes it one of the oldest football grounds still in regular use in Scotland. That history alone gives it a special place in Highland football culture. 10. The Hawes. The Hawes is located in Towif, Aberdeenshire. The ground has been the club's base since they joined the Highland League in 2009. Like Formartine, they're a relatively new club at this level, but their facilities have quickly grown to match their ambitions. The Hawes has a good-sized stand, plenty of terracing, and space to grow further. It's a tidy, modern-feeling venue and well-maintained. 9. Christie Park. Tucked away in the Aberdeenshire town of Hintley, this ground has been the club's base since its foundation back in 1928. It may not be a modern all-seater arena, but Christie Park is loaded with Highland League tradition. The stadium can hold around 2,200 people, with space along the sides and behind the goals. There's a modest seated stand and a mix of terracing. 8. Station Park. Next is Station Park in the seaside town of Nairn. The ground, with its capacity of 2,250, has been the proud home of Nairn County since 1935. Station Park is set in a picturesque location, with the town and Moray Firth nearby. The ground itself is traditional, mostly terracing with one small stand, but it has an intimacy that modern stadiums can't replicate. 7. Kynoch Park. Now we move to Kynoch Park in Keith, another Aberdeenshire ground, with a capacity of about 2,362. Built in 1922, it's one of the oldest Highland League stadiums still in use. The stadium takes its name from Sir George Kynoch, a local benefactor. The main stand, a traditional wooden structure, has been standing for decades and gives the ground a vintage flavor. 6. Harmsworth Park. Way up north, almost at the very edge of Scottish football, lies Harmsworth Park, home of Wick Academy. With a capacity of 2,412, it's one of the most remote senior football grounds in the UK. Football has been played here since the early 20th century, though Wick Academy didn't join the Highland League until 1994. That makes Harmsworth Park one of the newer Highland League venues. 5. Harlaw Park. Heading back south, we arrive at Harlaw Park in Inverary, home of Inverary Loco Works. This stadium, with a capacity of 2,500, is one of the most familiar names in Highland League football. The Locos have been here since their founding in 1902, and the ground reflects over a century of local football culture. Harlaw Park features a main stand with seating, covered terracing, and plenty of standing room. 4. Princess Royal Park. This stadium, with its 2,651 capacity, is another cornerstone of Highland League football. Opened in the 1930s, the ground was named after Princess Mary, the Princess Royal, who visited the area. It has been Deveron Vale's proud home ever since. The stadium layout is typical Highland League, a main stand on one side, terracing around the rest, and open space for standing fans. 3. Moset Park. Next up is Moset Park in Forres, the home of Forres Mechanics. With a capacity of 2,700, it's one of the bigger Highland League venues. The club has played here since the early 20th century, and the ground has grown gradually over the years. Moset Park features a main stand, terracing, and plenty of standing space, giving it a well-balanced layout. 2. Victoria Park. Now we come to Victoria Park in Buckie, home of Buckie Thistle. With a 3,000 capacity, it's one of the biggest and best-known grounds in the Highland League. Victoria Park dates back to the late 19th century, with Buckie Thistle founded in 1889. The ground has long been considered one of the jewels of the Highland League, thanks to its central location and its traditional main stand. 1. Glebe Park. Finally, we end with Glebe Park in Brian. At 4,083 capacity, it's the biggest ground in the Highland League for the 2025-26 season. Glebe Park is unique because it's the only ground in Scottish football with a hedge running along one side of the pitch. Yes, a hedge, a living, green wall that has become its most famous feature. So there you have it, the Highland League's biggest grounds for 2025-26. Football here is about more than capacity. It's about history, scenery, and spirit. And while the crowds might not hit tens of thousands, the passion is every bit as strong. The Highland League proves that the size of the ground doesn't measure the size of the heart. Thanks for watching. If you love the content, please make sure that you subscribe, like, share, and comment. See you in the next one.